And good that you dispel that myth. There's a lot that needs to be done to understand about comorbidities and their lifestyle and eating habits.
Hi, I am Alok and I'm your host at Fit Aerobic. Welcome to Fitness Pro Chat, the podcast by Fit Aerobic.
Welcome to Fitness Pro Chat by Fit Aerobic. If you're looking to improve your health and well-being to lead a healthy, fit, and fulfilling life, whether you're an amateur or a professional athlete, this podcast is for you.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Fitness Pro Chat with Fit Aerobic. I have with me today Lyn Smith. Let's talk about intermittent fasting with Lyn. Welcome back on our show. Why don't we brush up the audiences about what you do and how you got into nutrition field?
So I am first and foremost a registered nurse. I am a certified nutrition coach and certified personal trainer. And long story short, I really didn't care for the way that the medical system handles fitness and nutrition, the way we don't put an emphasis on that enough. So that kind of led me to where I am today to kind of spread the message about wellness, overall wellness through diet and exercise.
Awesome. So let me get into the first question right away. It would be great to understand how exactly intermittent fasting works and what are the different types of intermittent fasting.
Okay, so yes, as you know, intermittent fasting, or otherwise called time-restricted eating, has been a very controversial topic here lately. And yes, there are many different types. There's the popular 16-8, where you fast for 16 hours, and then you eat within an 8-hour window. There's the 5-2,
yes,
where you eat normally for 5 days, and then maybe you fast for 2 days a week. And it doesn't matter which days of the week those are. It can be your choice. And maybe you completely fast on those 2 days, or maybe you restrict yourself to 500 to 600 calories on those fasting days. We also have alternate day fasting, where maybe you fast every other day. You completely fast. And when I say fast, I mean, eating no calories. So you can drink calorie-free liquids. But other than that, you are completely fasting. And then of course there's OME, one meal. That's where basically you fast for 23 hours of the day, and then you get all of your calories, in that 1 hour. So there's multiple different types of fasting.
Okay. So I think it would be important to understand about fat burning, because that's the primary goal of intermittent fasting. So is fat burning happening differently during intermittent fasting than if we get into a controlled diet plan program?
Okay. So again, this is very controversial. And, the main idea of intermittent fasting is that it increases insulin sensitivity. So during that fasting time, your body is going to be more sensitive to insulin. It's going to bring your blood sugar levels down, and that's going to promote fat burning. We know that high insulin levels are associated with increased body fat, mainly belly fat. So that's the idea of during that fasting time period that it allows your body to become more insulin sensitive. Now, we can go way more scientific than that, but I'm not a scientist. But generally, I think overall for the average person, what I tell people is fasting's really not some magic trick. The real overall goal of fasting, and a lot of people may disagree with this, but it's for you to eat less. It is one of the many modes or methods to restrict calories and put yourself in that calorie deficit.
Yes.
So I try to tell people at first, let's forget about all this magic. Let's just, focus on the main idea is that you're going to eat less.
Okay. I think that's really interesting. And there are some studies that suggest that intermittent fasting might enhance cognitive function. So what's the science behind this?
So a lot of the we have to remember a lot of the studies are animal studies. A lot more research needs to be done before I think we can say these things definitively in humans. The idea is that increased insulin sensitivity helps to enhance or protect cognitive performance. I know a lot of people do say, and I think that this intermittent fasting is very individual to the person. A lot of people say that when they do practice intermittent fasting, they feel brain fog has lifted. They feel mentally more sharp. But it also is said to reduce oxidative stress, which damages our cells. So by intermittent fasting, your cells can function more optimally. And they also say that, intermittent fasting reduces overall inflammation, which is said to be linked to neurocognitive disorders such as Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. So by doing those fasting periods, you're protecting the cells. Lastly, it may improve your vascular function. The blood carries all of those nutrients to the brain. So by protecting vascularity, it improves brain health. And again, these are animal studies mostly, but, and I think that very individual, if you practice it and you feel these effects, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think let's try and understand more from, say, the positive aspects of intermittent fasting first, and then probably we can get into the negative aspect. So what could be the effects of intermittent fasting on health, aging, and disease?
Overall, the research says, again, back to this decreased insulin levels. Basically, it's going to promote fat loss. It's going to enhance your longevity. It's protecting cellular function. It's optimizing it. And there's a lot of research that says that it decreases blood sugar levels, cholesterol, which is great for preventing any heart-related events or diseases and preventing stroke. So that is what the research suggests right now.
Okay, so I came across a research recently. It was published and widely marketed that mentioned that intermittent fasting, and not all types of intermittent fasting, but probably fasting for say 16 hours can lead to increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So what's the reason behind it and how true it is?
Yeah. And I know this study pretty much alarmed the entire world.
Absolutely.
We have to take this study with a huge, huge grain of salt. This was a preliminary study. Okay. And it was based on all anecdotal evidence. Okay. So this is people self-reporting, but the biggest thing is we don't know anything else about the participants of this study. We have no idea.
That's true.
Study did not tell us anything about the lifestyles of these participants. Do they have any comorbidities? Do they use tobacco? Do they have alcohol consumption? What are they eating during their eating windows? All right. We don't know any of that stuff. So until we know that stuff, I think it's important to just exercise some real common sense here. And I would say, if you're somebody that practices intermittent fasting and it's working for you, keep doing it. I don't think this study gives us any direct causation that intermittent fasting absolutely leads to these cardiovascular events. We're not there yet. More research is needed.
Absolutely. These preliminary studies sometimes cause so much ripples in the market that everyone is, and we had so many people talking about it, and good that you dispel that myth. There's a lot that needs to be done to understand about comorbidities and their lifestyle and other eating habits and all the other aspects before drawing a conclusion to the study that was conducted. That brings me to a very interesting question. What are the food items that we can eat during intermittent fasting?
So that's a great question. But even before that, back to this study, I personally know a lot of people that do intermittent fasting, right? They practice it, but it's not intentional. These are not healthy people. They're just maybe see people that skip breakfast because they're so busy and otherwise lead an unhealthy lifestyle. So, no, we have to take that with a huge grain of salt. But to the question you just asked, what can we eat during intermittent fasting? Well, we can eat anything we want during those eating windows, right? But should you really? Because you have to remember, if your eating window is smaller than it was before, you have to eat nutrient-dense foods within those eating windows. What you're eating actually even becomes more important because you want to make sure you're getting all the nutrients that your body needs. If you're only eating in an 8-hour, 4-hour, a 1-hour window, you don't want to be putting highly processed, empty calorie foods into your body. You have to make sure that those meals are nutrient dense. However, some people that just start intermittent fasting and maybe they don't necessarily eat a high nutrient dense diet, they may see some initial results, but eventually it's going to catch up with them and, they're not going to be able to get all the benefits of the intermittent fasting by eating a poor diet during the eating window.
I get that. I think it would be also important to understand how people can manage hunger and also about their hydration needs during the fasting window.
So I would say to somebody who wants to start intermittent fasting, and again, you should always check with your healthcare provider before starting any kind of new diet plan. But I would say the big thing is start slow. If you're used to eating all hours of the day and night, start slow and build up. Start with that window. Start with a 12-hour window. Then maybe go to 10 and 8. So definitely start slow. But managing that hunger, I think the biggest thing is staying hydrated, right? So you can have, any calorie-free liquids. I like to add lemon to my water. But the other thing is, since you're not eating, you still need your electrolytes. So there's tons of electrolyte powders on the market now that are calorie-free. A lot of little packets so you can take them with you. So make sure that you're getting your electrolytes during those fasting periods. But you have to stay hydrated because, oftentimes, we know if we feel hungry, a lot of times maybe we're just thirsty or dehydrated. We need fluid. Lots of little tricks you can do, lots of things you can add to your water. Especially nowadays, there's so many different calorie-free things that you can add to your water to make it taste better. But staying hydrated is number one. And when you're eating, eat nutrient-dense foods. So if you're eating junk food during those times, it's going to spark your hunger. You're going to be hungrier. It's only going to prime that pump for when you do eat.
Absolutely. As humans, it is sometimes very difficult to hold up or not eat, and there could be occasional slip-ups, especially, say, someone is working in an office environment and there someone's birthday celebration comes up, or there is some celebratory event that's happening around, and there is no way that you can continue. You can avoid that kind of situation where you do not indulge in the savories that are brought into those celebrations. So does that affect the intermittent fasting progress in any way?
See, in the short term, yes. But in the long term, what? Right. So an occasional slip up is not going to make or break this. It's not going to be a deal breaker. You're going to have occasional slip ups in life. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But overall, in the big picture, no, it's not. But one of the things you can do is, maybe your eating window is, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and you're at the office and they want you to have a piece of cake at lunchtime and you have that piece of cake at noontime. Adjust your feeding window. So you have to be flexible and, just adjust that window of time that you're actually eating. But over the long haul, consistent slip-ups, yes. The big thing is that if you make so many slip-ups, the main thing is it can take you outside of that calorie deficit. So that's one thing you really have to pay attention to is just because you're intermittent fasting, no matter what what spacing or what window of time you're eating in. If we put ourselves out of our calorie deficit, and we can gain weight and we're not going to get those benefits. So we have to keep in mind. We have to remember that, weight loss is created by a calorie deficit. So if you eat in an 8-hour window and you're still splurging and you're creating a calorie surplus, you could still gain weight. So at the end of the day, we have to, stay grounded and remember that this is all about, in the end, eating less.
That's true. So there are situations where people are also on restrictive diet, and it could be self-imposed because many people believe that restricting their diet could help them to lose weight rather than following a guided program that would actually help them to maintain a better or a healthy way to weight loss. If we compare a restrictive diet to intermittent fasting, what's the kind of, difference between the two processes in which body burns fat and how exactly people should avoid the kind of food that they have typically in both the scenarios?
So what I would say is, in whichever type of diet you choose, still have to eat nutrient-dense foods, and you still have to have all the other lifestyle factors in place in order to get the benefits.
Absolutely, yes.
But what the evidence shows is by eating in a regular controlled diet, you are not going to get that benefit of the increased insulin sensitivity that you would in eating in a time-restricted fashion. Really, what people have to decide is what is going to be sustainable for them. So that's what people really have to decide. When people say, what's the best diet? Well, it's the best diet that you're going to do consistently. It's the diet that you can make a lifestyle. This is not a temporary thing. This some latest fad that you're going to do for a while. So it's whichever plan or program or, method that you can do for the long haul consistently is what you're going to get the most benefit from. And in both ways,
absolutely,
both methods, it matters what you eat. It still matters your lifestyle. Are you getting enough sleep? Those kinds of things still matter. You still have to practice all the other lifestyle factors to get the benefits from either method.
Absolutely. I think that's very well explained. So now I have two more questions for you. One, what are any practical advice for people who are new to intermittent fasting? Because with so much being written about intermittent fasting and so much being talked about, there are people who want to try it, or there are people who try it but not under a guided program. There could be people who would start it on their own based on the readings that they would have on internet. So any practical advice that you'd want to give to those who are already following it, probably by reading it on internet, and people who want to try out it for the first time?
So I would say that we have to remember that intermittent fasting is not for everyone. So like I said before, always check with your healthcare provider. For instance, if you have diabetes, intermittent fasting may not be safe for you. So you have to make sure that it is going to be safe for you. Like earlier, start small and basically take those eating windows and start making them smaller and smaller. The other thing I would say, plan your meals. You don't want to go get fast food for, maybe the 4 hours window that you have to eat. You don't want to fill that with junk food. You have to plan your meals ahead of time so that you make sure you're getting adequate nutrients during that eating window. But the biggest things, stay hydrated and plan those meals to make sure what you're eating is good whole food during those eating times. But you got to start slow. You don't want to just say, all right, I'm going to try this. And, just all of a sudden you're completely fasting, for, days at a time right out of the gate. You got to start slow.
Yeah.
I recommend those start really slow, that 12-hour. Okay, day one, I'm going to eat within this 12-hour window and then whittle it down from there. Got to start slow.
Absolutely. I think that's the crux. Start slow. Don't rush it by consuming a lot of calories. Try and understand what your body needs. And yes, always visit or take advice of your healthcare provider, whether you should go for it or not, because it's not for everyone. So that brings me to the last question of today's podcast. And what are some key strategies to make intermittent fasting a sustainable lifestyle change?
What I think is that intermittent fasting works best for people who I think are very busy, who maybe don't get a lot of activity. Maybe they have a sedentary job or lifestyle. I think intermittent fasting seems to work best for those people. It's less meal preparation than you have to do, right? You're not eating, 5-6 meals a day. It makes a little bit easier to manage when you maybe only have to plan a couple meals and snacks a day.
Yes.
But I would say plan your meals, and over time, you won't get as hungry as you used to get. So over time, it gets easier. Again, you have to plan those meals. And a lot of people find it easier to be sustainable because people live such busy lives now. That, it's money. You're eating less, so it's economical too. So you're only planning maybe a couple of meals a day. But you have to plan those meals. It becomes even more important to eat good food when you eat less, to make sure you're getting all the nutrients your body needs to function appropriately.
Absolutely. So probably I would add one more bonus question for everyone today.
Yes.
And that's on what are top 3 recommendations that you would have for people who want to adopt intermittent fasting or someone who is already practicing it?
Number 1, make sure you're getting enough protein. I mean, that's a whole nother show, right? You have to make sure. We need to preserve our muscle. That's critical. We know that that's critical for aging. What becomes even more important as we get older. So have to make sure during those eating windows that you are getting an ample amount of protein, because when you're eating less, it does become very difficult to meet your daily protein goal. So those meals need to be absolutely protein packed. That would be first and foremost. The second one is you have to stay hydrated. You have to have make sure you're getting your electrolytes. Hydration is absolutely critical, no-brainer. And the third is you have to plan. I know I keep repeating myself, but you have to plan those meals. You can't just go grab whatever. Plan a meal. Know in the morning during your feeding window what you're having. You can't guess, because when we start waiting till it's that time and then we say, what am I going to have? That's when bad decisions are made. So you have to pre-plan.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lyn, for joining us today. And it's always a pleasure to connect and speak with you on different topics. And I look forward to hosting you for another interesting discussion pretty soon.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me back. I really appreciate it.
That's a wrap. Thank you for listening to Fitness Pro Chat by Fit Aerobic. We hope you had key takeaways from today's episode and learned something new. Don't forget to download and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. In the meantime, reach out to us on Instagram @FitAerobic or through our website, fitaerobic.com. And remember, failures will only make you strong and better learned. Take care, stay healthy, and live a fulfilling life with Fit Aerobic.